What's going on today, guys? What I want to bring to you today and kind of show you excuse me, is some camouflage patterns that it doesn't seem like a whole lot of people know about. Now, some of you watching this may know, some of you may not know. So if you don't know, here you go. As any of you that's watched for any time, you know I've done a lot of videos on different camo patterns and effectiveness and all that. For a long time, one of my favorite lines of patterns has been the Pencott line from High Definition. They've got, probably in my opinion, again, one guy, sample of one, probably one of the best lineups of camo patterns that I've seen and or tried. I've been messing with them since probably excuse me, early 2012 maybe, thereabouts. So they've been around for a few years now. The reason you haven't seen me doing much with them has been because of one of my big frustrations, and that's been availability. Now, there are some companies in the U.S. that are doing gear in the Pencott patterns. I know Tactical Tailor is doing some of their stuff in some of it, and I've been doing some over at UW Gear, my business, and a couple others. But predominantly, it's all been overseas. It's been really popular and big over in Europe. And there's a number of European manufacturers that are making clothing, gear, etc. in the Pencott patterns. It's taken a while to kind of catch on here in the States. For whatever reason. Now, a lot of you know, there's a lot of camo patterns that I like, okay, that I like and would not hesitate to use. I still like old school woodland. I like the British DPM woodland. I like the British MTP. I like the multicam series of patterns. I like the Pencott patterns. I like the all-terrain Tiger Stripe. I like all of them for different reasons. Multicam come out with their most recent patterns. What was it, early last year? No, the year before. Yeah, it's been a couple years now. For the longest time you just had multicam, okay? But then multicam come out with their Alpine, which is their winter or snow pattern, their Tropic, which is their woodland / jungle pattern, and then their Arid, which is their desert or arid pattern. Now, I thought that was really smart on the part of multicam, because personally, always some exceptions, I'm speaking in generalities here, there's always exceptions to the rule, but in general, I don't like a one-size-fits-all when it comes to camo patterns. I think you are better served by having a pattern that's, and by pattern I mean not only the pattern but the colorway, okay? They're two separate things, but we're just going to use it interchangeable for now. The pattern and colorway, I think it's better to have one that's more focused and dedicated towards your environment that you're predominantly going to be in. That said, I thought it was smart when multicam come out with the Tropic and Arid and Alpine to go with regular multicam. That gave you more dedicated patterns for different areas and situations. Now the catch to that is, Pencott did that before multicam did. Pencott was one of the first that I remember seeing come out that had dedicated patterns for different environments. Now the 4 Pencott patterns You've got your green zone, which is more your woodland jungle type pattern. You've got Badlands, which is, Badlands is kind of the, let me do an equivalency here before I get too far. That way you guys maybe, since you might be more familiar with multicam. Green zone would be the equivalent of like multicam tropic. They're both kind of focused on similar environments. Regular multicam is kind of what is considered a transitional pattern. It'll work fairly well in multiple different areas. Pencott's Badlands pattern is about the equivalent of the multicam, standard multicam, as far as it'll work pretty good in a number of different areas. It's kind of a transitional pattern. For a dedicated arid pattern, Pencott has their Sandstorm. Okay, that's more for dedicated arid areas. And then for winter or snow, they've got their Snowdrift. So Pencott actually had that line out before multicam did. Now I don't know who started designing all of them first. I just know that back in 2012, early 2012, you had all the Pencott patterns. Trying to give you all information on this to set you up so I can actually show it to you, and you'll know where I'm coming from with it. I like the Pencott patterns a lot. Their effectiveness in my limited testing in the past has been as good or better than anything else out there. And everybody knows I'm a big fan of the multicam patterns, the whole family. I think Pencott is every bit as good, maybe in some respects better. Now, jumping into a little different train of thought here for you guys, my audience, for an armed prepared citizen. You know, we've talked a little bit in the past, the APC, prepper, survivalist, etc. Role. Some of you don't like using patterns that are military issue patterns or whatever. If that's a concern for you, right now, Pencott patterns aren't military issue patterns, at least not here in the U.S. I'm not sure about overseas. There might be a few foreign countries that are using them a little bit here and there, but I can't attest to that. I'd have to find out. But it's not a military issue pattern like everybody associates multicam with, or old school woodland being a former military pattern, which it's still used a little bit today. Your digital woodland, digital desert, aka Marpat woodland, Marpat desert. Those are current issue. Your AOR patterns, those are current issue. Pencott's not. So, what am I rambling on about all this stuff, just jumping all over the place with? I just wanted to let you know I've been messing with the Pencott patterns for a long time. I really like them. It's been frustrating that there hasn't been anybody stateside in the continental United States that's been able to make clothing and such to catch on. We've had a little bit of gear. I've done some, Tactical Tailor done some, etc. Like I said, repeating myself. But clothing-wise, there just hasn't been anything. You had to order from overseas, and then, you know, sometimes the sizing can be different between how, you know, European manufacturers make stuff versus, you know, U.S. manufacturers. Quite honestly, one of the biggest problems for me has been the exchange rate on the dollar just absolutely stinks right now, and has for a while, obviously. So by the time you do that and then pay shipping and everything for stuff to get here from Europe, it just makes it, for me, completely unaffordable. I just can't afford to get it like I want to use. But I'm hoping, and do not hold me to this, I want to put emphasis on hoping, that from what I'm hearing and being told, that might be fixing to change. In one aspect, it already is, and I'm working on something that I hope to have to show you in the not too distant future. but I'm hoping that Pencott's fixing to be a lot more available here, stateside, continental U.S. for you guys. I know if it is, I'm all over it, because like I said, it's it ranks up there at the top of my list as far as my favorites and effectiveness and stuff. Okay, I will shut up now, just rambling and boring you, right? You want to see the goods. Okay. First I'm going to show you some of the Cordura nylon, just so you can kind of get a picture of the patterns themselves, okay? Now, let me caveat this. I'm in the workshop right now, and I've got a lot of fluorescent lighting in here. I don't know how well this is going to show up on the camera, between the fact that I'm using a new camera that I'm still trying to work out all the settings and everything on. I've got all this fluorescent lighting in here. Lights bouncing all over the place. This isn't really the ideal place to show you something, to show you the true colors on it. So I don't know how well the true colorway is going to come out on this particular video. So keep that in mind when you're watching it. This may not be 100% accurate. I'm going to do my best to get outside and get it in actual sunlight, and hopefully get camera settings and everything right, so it'll more accurately depict and show the patterns and the colorways. Okay, so bear that in mind. Now, first pattern we'll just do is the green zone. Okay, now this is again Cordura nylon. Okay, so that's the green zone pattern. Lots of browns and greens and tans in it. This, I'll be honest, a few years ago, a friend of mine and I were out in some woods in the southern U.S., pine forest with a little bit of hardwood mixed in, and literally we couldn't get separated too far from each other wearing green zone without losing each other. It was stupid effective, okay, especially up close. Don't let the name fool you. The green zone works in a lot of areas. It works from brown tone forest to really bright green forest to a lot of places. It's a much broader area than what you would think, especially for a pattern that's meant to be more for a woodland / jungle environment, where you typically think of it being a little bit darker and not quite as bright as what green zone looks. Okay, that's part of the crazy chameleon effect that it has. It works, and it works really well. Okay, that's the green zone. Now next up is probably my favorite of the three, or four really. I like them all, but if I had to pick just one, it would probably be this. And this is, let me try to open this up a little bit bigger for you. This is the Badlands pattern, okay? Try to come in a little closer. Probably should have did that with the green zone, but okay. Badlands has a lot of khaki, browns, tans, etc. in it. Again, meant to be more of a transitional type pattern, in my opinion. Now next up is, and this is a smaller piece, but hopefully you can still get the idea. This is the Sandstorm. Okay, obviously lots of tan and lighter brown, a little khaki, etc. I have some of the Snowdrift, but I apologize, I failed to prepare properly, and it's buried in my material stack over there. So go to Pencott's website and look up what Snowdrift looks like. Okay, same kind of concept. Now, I was fortunate enough back in 2012 to get a couple of sets of ACU cut BDUs in Pencott. Now, I'm going to show you those, but I want to preface that with a couple of things to keep in mind. Most of the newer stuff that's being made is being done with 50/50 Nico material. Thank you. The stuff that I've got is the older 6535 poly cotton material. Okay, so the material honestly can sometimes affect the colors and stuff, the way it comes out. These have been washed and worn quite a bit. So this is Green Zone ACU top. Okay, just so you can kind of get an idea, I'll put it on and let you take a look. This wasn't really sold or anything. I think they sold a few sets of them publicly, but it wasn't a lot. Nothing special about them. These are just a standard ACU cut. Excuse the black t-shirt underneath. I know that kind of stands out, but hopefully you can get an idea. Let me turn and you see the back of it. Hopefully that kind of give you an idea of what the Green Zone kind of looks like on you. Okay, I really like it. As far as gear to go with the Green Zone, OD green works really well. You could even get by in a pinch with Coyote Brown. Believe it or not. I know y'all get tired of hearing me repeat that, but Coyote Brown is a ridiculously, it's probably the most versatile, solid colorway out there right now. Again, you can use Coyote with this. You can get away with using OD green with it. More to come on some things in that regards gear-wise, so stay tuned on that. This is a little bit faded, because like I said, I have washed and worn it quite a bit. This is the older poly cotton material. It's not the Nyko material, so keep that in mind. Now, next up is Badlands. Again, probably one of my favorite. If I was only going to pick one, it would probably be Badlands. Now, let me get situated here. The Badlands pattern, let me show you that. Okay. This Badlands is an older Badlands. On the earlier runs, they made a slight color change, and I don't know exactly the details on what was changed. I just know the current Badlands is a little bit different than the older stuff, and there is older stuff out there circulating around. In my opinion, it's not a big deal. It still works really well, and the two kind of meshed fairly seamlessly in my opinion. But just to make sure I throw that out there, the newer Badlands and the current Badlands is ever so slightly different than this right here that I've got on. It's the older, quote unquote, Badlands. In fact, I'll just hold this up side by side. I don't know if I don't know if the difference is going to show on the camera. Shadow hitting on that. See if we can do it over here. I don't know if the difference is going to show or not, but the colors are just ever so slightly different. If I had to say anything, I'd probably say that the current, and this is current Badlands by the way, this is the current stuff. It's probably a little bit darker. Yeah, probably a little bit darker in general with some of the browns that are in it. But to show you that it's not really a big deal meshing the two, and to show you that Coyote Brown works really well with Badlands as a solid color option to go with it if you can't find what kind of gear you're looking for. This is one of my chest rigs. In the current Badlands, I know I'm all foobarred up here for just throwing it on. I ain't got time to look pretty for you guys. You're going to have to just deal with it. Alright, but this is the current Badlands Cordura and old Badlands material. Honestly, as you can tell, they kind of seamlessly fit together. It's not a big deal. You can see a little bit of difference. Now this webbing right here is older Badlands webbing. It's not the current Badlands material. Okay, so keep that in mind. Again, you see a little bit of difference between the Cordura and the older webbing. Again, if you're going to be up close with a microscope and nitpicking it, well, you know what, God bless you, carry on. But you get back a little bit, you get out in the real world and you get out doing stuff, it's not an issue, okay? It's just not. It works. So, I don't have any clothing right now in Sandstorm to show you. Honestly, because in where I'm at in my part of the country, Sandstorm just, it works, but and it works better than what you'd think for an arid pattern. But for me, Badlands and Green Zone is a better set of options. Okay, there's pretty much nowhere down here, summer, winter, fall, whatever, that Badlands and Green Zone won't cover for me. So I've probably rambled on way longer than some of you want to listen, and probably not long enough for some of you that do. But this is the Pencott stuff. I hope to bring you more on this in the future. Now, I do want to get out and run it through some paces on video in the woods. But before I do, I want to make sure I've got newer current stuff, okay? Like I said, this is the older pattern just for the sake of being accurate. I want to get the newer stuff and make sure there's not any differences between like the Nyko material that being used now and that older poly cotton. Cordura we're pretty good on, so that's not a big deal, but once I can get my hands on some, I will get out and test it and kind of show you how it works. This video is just, I wanted to get it out there, put it in you guys' minds, let y'all be looking, you know, at it, thinking about it. I'll put a link down below to the Pencott website, and you can see, you know, pictures and stuff that they've got up, etc. Yes, I do make my gear in the Pencott patterns over at UW Gear, so check that out if you're interested in any of that. Just again for comparison, this is a Green Zone chest rig, and you can see how the colors, just using the solid color tape on it, and even just solid OD webbing. The OD works really good with it. You get it back a little ways, and you can't even tell. So there you go, guys. Pencott from High Definition. Go give it a look. Really hope to be bringing more to you on it soon. So stay tuned in and look for that. Don't know how soon I'm going to get it. Don't know what I'm going to be able to get. Got a number of things I'm looking at trying to work out. Once I get something, I'll bring it to you. As always, thanks guys. I appreciate the subscriptions and your time. Take care. Be safe. Get out there. Train. Get prepared. Pay attention. You know the deal. Talk to you again soon.